I used to be a co-founder. But within 3 weeks, I became an outsider. My shares were revoked. My name vanished from the company website. He thought I'd stay silent because I lacked evidence. But I'd kept every draft contract, including the one he thought I wouldn't dare to keep. The one that showed where $7.8 million really went. The one that would destroy everything he'd built on my ashes. My name is Elena Riker, and I grew up in a town where dreams went to die. Bisbee, Arizona, population 5,000, average income barely scraping poverty line. My father worked copper mines until they closed. My mother cleaned motel rooms until her back gave out. At 17, I was writing code on a second-hand laptop held together with duct tape, teaching myself Python from pirated textbooks while working night shifts at a truck stop diner. I wasn't supposed to make it out, but I did. Full ride to Arizona State, not because I was brilliant, because I was desperate. I majored in financial technology, minored in computer science, and lived on ramen and determination. That's where I met Max Halberd. He was everything I wasn't. Trust fund, prep school, connections that opened doors before he even knocked. We fell into each other the way opposites do, hard, fast, and blind to the warning signs. He had vision, I had skills. He could pitch, I could build. In our senior year, while our classmates were sending out resumes, we were incorporating Fundora technologies in his parents' garage. The idea was simple, elegant even. An AI platform that could analyze investment data patterns faster than any human, predicting market movements with frightening accuracy. Max handled the business side, charming investors, networking at conferences where a single ticket cost more than my monthly rent. I handled everything else. The code, the architecture, the 18-hour days debugging algorithms while he was at pitch meetings. I was the brain behind the product. Every line of code, every neural network optimization, every breakthrough that made investors lean forward in their chairs, that was me. But I didn't mind being in the shadows then. We were partners, lovers, co-founders with equal shares, or so the handshake agreement said. For 4 years, I barely slept. I turned down job offers from Google, from Goldman Sachs. From startups that IPO'd while we were still bootstrapping, I believed in what we were building. I believed in us. When we closed our Series A funding, $8 million, Max opened champagne while I fixed a critical bug in production. When TechCrunch called us the future of fintech, I was refactoring code while Max gave interviews. By year 4, we'd raised our Series B, nearly $30 million at a valuation pushing $80 million. Suddenly, Fundora wasn't just our baby anymore. It belonged to venture capitalists with Patek Philippe watches and opinions about everything. Max started wearing tailored suits, flying first class, talking about exit strategies and liquidity events. I should have seen it coming when he stopped calling it our company and started saying my company. Should have noticed when board meetings happened without me, when my email stopped getting CC'd on investor updates. But I was deep in the code, building the very features that made us valuable. The last time we were happy, truly happy, was the night we signed the Series B documents. Max pulled me onto the rooftop of our office building, the Phoenix skyline glittering below us. "We did it, Elle," he said, using the nickname only he called me. From nothing to this. I kissed him under those stars, tasting champagne and promise. 3 weeks later, I'd lose everything. But that night, I was just a girl from Bisbee who'd clawed her way into a world that didn't want her, standing next to a boy who'd soon show me exactly why they called it vulture capital. The unraveling started with small things. Documents I'd co-signed suddenly had different dates. Board meeting minutes mentioned decisions I'd never heard about. Max began scheduling strategic sessions with new investors, always when I was traveling to developer conferences or buried in product launches. "We need to professionalize the cap table," he said one Tuesday morning, sliding papers across my desk. "Standard stuff, just cleaning up for the next round." I was running on 3 hours of sleep, having spent the night fixing a catastrophic database migration. The papers blurred, legal jargon about vesting schedules and IP assignments. Max's hand on my shoulder, warm, and familiar. Trust me, L. This protects us both. I signed. Of course I signed. This was Max. 2 weeks later, Harrison Webb joined as strategic advisor, silver-haired, Harvard MBA, the kind of man who said synergy without irony. He brought 2 more board members, both from his network. Suddenly, our weekly founders' meetings became executive committee sessions. I wasn't on the executive committee. It's just optics, Max assured me over dinner at our favorite Thai place. Investors want to see traditional corporate structure. You're still my partner. Nothing changes. But everything was changing. My key card stopped working for the executive floor. New hires reported to Max directly, even engineers who should have been under me. Emails about product roadmap came as FYIs instead of requests for input. Then came the Thursday that shattered everything. I'd been in Seattle, presenting at a conference about AI ethics in financial technology. My phone buzzed with an email from our corporate lawyer. The subject line, Notice of Equity Restructuring. I read it standing in SeaTac Airport, surrounded by strangers rushing to gates, my world tilting off its axis. Due to failure to fulfill intellectual property assignment obligations and breach of founder agreements, your equity position in Fundora Technologies has been terminated effective immediately. Failure to fulfill? I'd built every algorithm, every model, every line of code that mattered. My hands shook as I called Max, straight to voicemail. I called again. Nothing. By the time I landed in Phoenix, my corporate email was deactivated. My laptop, the one with 4 years of my life coded into it, remotely wiped. The apartment we'd shared was empty. Max's things gone like he'd never existed. I drove to the office at midnight, using my old key card out of habit. It beeped red. The security guard, Marcus, who I'd brought coffee to every morning for 3 years, wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Miss Riker, you're no longer authorized. The next morning, I refreshed Fundora's website obsessively. My name had vanished from the About page. My bio, my photo. Any trace that Elena Riker had co-founded this company deleted like bad code. Max finally texted that afternoon. It's not personal. The board made the call. You'll receive your termination package per the agreements. What agreements? The ones I'd signed exhausted at 3 a.m.? The ones he'd assured me were just paperwork? I wanted to scream, to rage, to put my fist through the laptop screen showing our website, my work, with only his name on it. Instead, I went quiet. Dangerously quiet. Because fury makes you stupid, but cold anger makes you clever. And I'd need to be very clever for what came next. I spent the next week in my empty apartment, surrounded by printed documents. Every email I'd ever sent from my personal account. Every Slack message I'd screenshotted out of paranoia. Every draft contract saved to my personal cloud before the official versions were filed. That's when I found it. Buried in my Gmail drafts. A document Max had sent me to review months ago, then asked me to delete. Just a preliminary thing, he'd said. Lawyers exploring options. But I hadn't deleted it. Some instinct, maybe from growing up poor where you saved everything because you might need it later, had made me keep it. The document was titled Equity Reallocation Strategy. It outlined, in careful legal language, exactly how to remove a co-founder. Dated 6 months ago, 3 months before Harrison Webb appeared. They'd been planning this since our Series B closed. I sat in the dark, laptop screen illuminating my face, and smiled for the first time since Seattle. They thought they'd erased me. But I'd learned long ago in Bisbee, you always keep receipts. The real discovery came at 2:47 a.m. on a Wednesday, buried in a folder marked Tax Prep 2023. I'd been systematically searching through my email backups, running keyword searches for anything financial. My eyes burned from staring at screens, living on coffee and spite. Then I found an email thread that made me sit up straight. The sender was our former CFO, Patricia Morse, who'd resigned for personal reasons 6 months ago. She'd forwarded me a zip file with the subject FYI, might want to save this. I downloaded it absently, never opened it. Patricia left 2 weeks later. Inside the zip, financial documents, wire transfer confirmations, and a PDF titled Offshore Strategy B2 Transfer. My hands trembled as I opened it. Page 1 showed a wire transfer authorization. Amount, $7.8 million. Recipient, Praxis Novum Limited, registered in Belize. Authorized by Max Halberd, CEO. I knew every dollar that moved through Fundora. This transfer wasn't in any board report, any financial statement, any investor update. $7.8 million vanished into a Belizean black hole. The next pages made my blood run cold. Praxis Novum's incorporation documents showing a single director, Malcolm H. Burton. I Googled the name, nothing, but those initials. I pulled up Max's full legal name from our incorporation documents. Maxwell Harrison Burton Halberd. He'd used his middle names. More digging. Praxis Novum had received 3 transfers totaling $7.8 million, all authorized by Max. All from Fundora's Series B funding. The official board minutes from those dates showed standard operational expenses. The real transfers happened through a shadow account I'd never seen. My ex hadn't just stolen my company. He'd been stealing from the company. I called Patricia's personal number, not expecting an answer at 3 a.m. She picked up on the second ring. Elena. Not a question. I wondered when you'd call. You knew? I knew enough to get out. Her voice was tired. When I questioned the discrepancies, Max promoted me to special advisor and cut my system access. The writing was on the wall. Why didn't you report it? With what proof? Max had Harrison's law firm bury everything. I kept copies, sent them to you as insurance. Figured if anyone could use them, it'd be you. We talked for an hour. Patricia confirmed what I'd suspected. The offshore transfers were hidden from investors, unreported to the IRS. Classic embezzlement, dressed up in startup complexity. He's planning another round, Patricia said before hanging up. Series C, $100 million valuation. That's why he needed you out. Your equity would have been worth $12 million. I sat in my apartment as dawn broke over Phoenix, surrounded by evidence of federal crimes, tax fraud, wire fraud, securities fraud, the kind of charges that turned millionaire CEOs into federal inmates. Max thought he'd won. He'd taken my company, my equity, my future. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd taught me to always back up everything. I spent the next 3 days organizing evidence, creating encrypted copies, building an airtight timeline. The 18-year-old girl from Bisbee who'd learned to code on a broken laptop was gone. In her place sat a woman who understood exactly how to weaponize information. On day 4, I made a decision. I couldn't just report this to the authorities and hope for justice. The tech world protected its own. And Max had Harrison Webb's connections. No, I needed someone who understood both technology and journalism. Someone who'd made a career exposing Silicon Valley's dirty secrets. I needed Nina Brookfield, the investigative reporter who'd taken down Theranos before it was cool, who'd exposed sexual harassment at major VCs when no one else would touch the story. Her email was public. Her reputation was bulletproof. I drafted the email 16 times. Subject line: Fundora Technologies CEO stole $7.8 million. I have proof. In the body, I included just enough to hook her: the transfer amount, the offshore company name, Max's hidden ownership, and one line that I knew would grab her. I'm the co-founder he erased, and I kept receipts. I hit send at exactly 9 a.m. Pacific when I knew she'd be starting her workday. Then I waited, but not for long. 43 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number, San Francisco area code. Elena Riker. The voice was sharp, professional. Nina Brookfield, how soon can you get to San Francisco? I looked around my empty apartment, at the boxes I hadn't unpacked. The life I'd put on hold for a company that had discarded me. I can be there tonight. Good. Bring everything. And Elena? Don't contact anyone else. If this is what I think it is, We're going to need to move fast. As I booked my flight, I thought about Max, probably in some board meeting right now, confident in his victory. He had no idea what was coming. The girl from Bisbee was done being silent. Nina Brookfield's office was nothing like I'd imagined. No gleaming newsroom, no bustling journalists. Just a converted loft in Mission Bay. Walls covered with whiteboards mapping corporate connections, timelines of fraud, photographs of CEOs who'd thought themselves untouchable. "Show me everything," she said, pouring coffee from a French press. No small talk. I appreciated that. For 3 hours, I walked her through the documents, the offshore transfers, the hidden company, the timeline of my erasure. Nina took notes in shorthand, occasionally asking sharp questions that showed she understood both the technical and financial angles. "This is good," she finally said. "But it's not enough. We need to establish pattern, intent. One offshore transfer could be explained away. Max has good lawyers." My heart sank. "So it's worthless?" "I didn't say that." Nina pulled up her laptop. "I said we need more. Lucky for you, this isn't my first rodeo with startup fraud. Your boy Max isn't as clever as he thinks." She showed me her screen, public record searches, SEC filings, a web of connections I hadn't seen. Praxis Novum had siblings, Praxis Duodecim, Praxis Septum, all registered in different offshore havens, all receiving transfers from companies where Harrison Webb sat on the board. "Your Max learned from the best," Nina said. "Webb's been running this playbook for years. Small amounts from each company, hidden in operational expenses. But you're the first insider to come forward with proof." We spent the next week building the story. Nina had sources everywhere, former employees who'd signed NDAs but would confirm details off the record, forensic accountants who could trace money flows, even a Belizean lawyer who explained how the shell companies operated. I moved into a cheap motel, paying cash. Paranoid about Max discovering what I was doing. Nina thought I was overreacting until my rental car's tires were slashed outside a Starbucks. No cameras, no witnesses. Just a message. "Now we know we're onto something," Nina said, examining the clean cuts. "They're scared." I created the anonymous account on a Friday night. Shareholder 1. Bland, forgettable, perfect for dropping bombs. I posted in niche forums where VCs and startup employees gathered. Hints at first. Questions about Fundora's governance. Mentions of irregularities in funding. The posts gained traction. Other anonymous accounts chimed in. Former employees I recognized from their writing styles. Investors who'd noticed discrepancies. I fed them breadcrumbs, building momentum. Meanwhile, Nina worked her magic with traditional media. She reached out to the Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, Bloomberg. "I've got something big on Fundora," she told them, "but I need guarantees on source protection." 3 weeks after I'd first contacted her, we were ready. Nina had written the exposé, 3,000 words of devastating journalism. I had gigabytes of evidence uploaded to secure servers. The SEC complaint was drafted, ready to file, but I needed one more thing. Closure. I texted Max from a burner phone. "Faraday's, Thursday, 8 p.m., come alone." Faraday's was where we'd had our first date, where we'd sketched Fundora's first business plan on napkins, where we'd celebrated every milestone until he'd decided I was expendable. He showed up 15 minutes late, still in his CEO uniform, tailored suit, Apple Watch, the confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. He looked good. I hated that he looked good. "Elle." He sat across from me, trying that old smile. "You look tired." Funny thing about building a company from scratch, it's exhausting. But you wouldn't know about that. His smile faltered. "Look, I know you're angry." "Angry?" I laughed. "Max, I'm not angry. I'm curious. Was it always the plan? From day one? Or did you wake up one morning and decide I was disposable?" "The board made the decision. Harrison said you could steal $7.8 million. The color drained from his face. For the first time since that night on the rooftop, I saw real Max. Not the CEO, not the performer, just a scared boy who'd gotten caught. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "The pressure, the expectations. Harrison promised he'd protect me if you just threw me under the bus. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. You were supposed to get a payout, move on, start something new. You're brilliant. Elle, you don't need Fundora." "You're right," I said, standing. "I don't need Fundora. But Fundora needed me. And in about 12 hours, everyone's going to know exactly how much." I dropped a folder on the table. Copies of the wire transfers, the shell companies, the evidence that would end him. "My lawyer will be in touch," I said, walking away. "Elena." "Wait." His voice cracked. "We can fix this. I'll give you back your shares. I'll make you whole. Just don't." I turned at the door. "You know what the funny thing is, Max? If you'd just been honest, if you'd bought me out fair and square, I would have taken it. But you had to win everything, and now you're going to lose it all." The last thing I saw was him staring at the papers, hands shaking as he recognized what they meant. The golden boy of fintech, realizing his kingdom was built on sand. Tomorrow, Nina's story would break. The SEC would announce their investigation. The board would call emergency meetings. Tonight, I just walked into the Phoenix heat, finally free of the weight I'd carried. Max thought he'd erased me. He was about to learn that some code can't be deleted. Monday morning, 6 a.m. Pacific. I sat in my motel room, laptop open to 15 different tabs. TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Reuters, Twitter. The shareholder one account logged in and ready. Nina texted, "Going live in 30. My hands were steady. 4 weeks of preparation came down to this moment. 6:29 a.m. I posted the full PDF package to 3 financial forums simultaneously. Wire transfer records, shell company documentation, the smoking gun emails. Everything watermarked with Fundora Technologies, fraud evidence. 6:30 a.m. Nina's article went live. The $7.8 million secret, how Fundora Technologies' CEO allegedly defrauded investors. The headline was perfect, allegedly for legal protection. But the evidence spoke for itself. 6:31 a.m. My phone exploded. The shareholder one posts were getting shared at exponential speed. Tech Twitter caught fire. The hashtag Fundra fraud started trending. 6:45 a.m. First pickup from mainstream media. CNBC flashed a breaking news alert. Fox Business interrupted their morning show. The story was everywhere, spreading faster than Max's PR team could possibly respond. 7 a.m. I opened a new browser tab and submitted the SEC whistleblower complaint. 47 pages of evidence, meticulously organized. The IRS complaint followed, then the California Attorney General. Every relevant authority, all at once. 7:15 a.m. Fundora's investor Slack channel leaked. Screenshots flooding Twitter. Board members demanding answers. Emergency meeting, now. Has anyone reached Max? Legal team assembling. 7:32 a.m. First official response. Fundora's Twitter account posted a weak statement. We are aware of allegations circulating on social media. Fundora Technologies remains committed to transparency and will cooperate fully with any investigations. I laughed. Transparency. From a company that had erased its co-founder. 8 a.m. The dominoes started falling faster. Sequoia Capital, our lead Series B investor, released a statement distancing themselves. We are deeply concerned by these allegations and have launched an internal review. 8:30 a.m. Our biggest client, a Fortune 500 bank, announced they were suspending their contract pending investigation. Stock futures for companies partnered with Fundora started dipping. 9 a.m. East Coast markets opened. The contagion spread. Every startup in Harrison Webb's portfolio took a hit. Investors smelled blood. 9:47 a.m., Max tried to do damage control. A hastily arranged CNBC interview, remote from his office. He looked haggard, tie crooked, makeup unable to hide the stress. These allegations are baseless, he insisted. Elena Riker is a disgruntled former employee spreading lies because... The anchor interrupted. But Mr. Halberd, these documents show your signature on wire transfers to a Belizean company you control. How do you explain that? Max froze. Live on national television. The golden boy of fintech had nothing to say. 10:15 a.m. Fundora's website crashed from traffic. Their customer support lines jammed. Enterprise clients demanding explanations. The beautiful machine I'd helped build was tearing itself apart. 11:00 a.m. The SEC announced a formal investigation. The Securities and Exchange Commission is aware of allegations regarding Fundora Technologies and has opened an inquiry into potential violations of federal securities laws. 11:30 a.m. Harrison Webb's lawyers released a statement distancing him from Max, the mentor throwing his protege under the bus. No honor among thieves. 12 p.m. Lunch hour on the East Coast. Every financial news show led with the story. They used my photo, the one Max had deleted from the website. The erased co-founder who exposed an alleged $7.8 million fraud. 1 p.m. The Fundora board announced via press release, effective immediately. Max Halberd has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The board takes these allegations seriously and will cooperate fully with authorities. 48 hours. That's all it had taken from leak to suspension. 2:30 p.m. Max's personal Twitter account. Silent all morning, posted once, I will be vindicated. Within minutes, it was ratioed into oblivion. Former employees sharing stories, investors demanding answers. The tweet was deleted after 15 minutes. 3 p.m. Nina called. You see the news? 3 more whistleblowers just came forward, former Fundora employees with their own evidence. You opened the floodgates. 4 p.m. Markets closed, Fundora's valuation. That precious $80 million number Max loved to quote was meaningless. No one would touch the company. Toxic assets in Silicon Valley were worse than worthless. 6 p.m. I ordered pizza to my motel room and watched the internet burn down everything Max had built. Memes about startup fraud, jokes about pulling a Fundora, his name becoming a verb for the wrong reasons. 8 p.m. A text from an unknown number. I recognized Harrison Webb's assistant. Mr. Webb would like to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement. I deleted it without responding. They still thought this was about money. 10:05 p.m. Final tally for the day. Fundora under SEC investigation, Max suspended, 3 major clients gone. Valuation destroyed, class action lawsuits already being filed by shareholders. I closed my laptop and lay on the motel bed, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in Phoenix, Max was probably huddled with lawyers, trying to figure out how to survive this. Harrison Webb was probably moving assets offshore. The board was probably discussing bankruptcy. But I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking about 19-year-old Elena, coding on that broken laptop in Bisbee, dreaming of building something that mattered. She had built something. And when they tried to steal it, she'd burned it all down rather than let them keep it. Tomorrow. There would be more revelations, more investigations, more consequences. Tonight, I just smiled at the ceiling and whispered to no one. Send. Max finally called on Thursday. I'd been expecting it. 3 days of radio silence while his world collapsed. Then my phone lit up with his name. The old photo still attached to his contact. Us at a hackathon, young and stupid and happy. I let it ring twice before answering. Max. L. His voice was hoarse, defeated. We need to talk. Your lawyers told you not to contact me. Fuck the lawyers. A bitter laugh. They've already gotten their retainers. They'll be fine. Can we meet? Why would I do that? Please. The word came out cracked. One conversation. After everything we built together, you owe me that. I didn't owe him anything. But curiosity won. Bar none. 1 hour. Bar none was upscale, private, the kind of place powerful people made deals they didn't want overheard. Max had chosen our old celebration spot, where we'd toasted our first funding, where he'd convinced me to trust him with my life's work. He was already there when I arrived, hunched in a corner booth. The confident CEO was gone. This was just a broken man in a wrinkled shirt, nursing whiskey like medicine. "You look good," he said as I sat down. "Strong." "You look like hell." "Yeah, well, federal investigation will do that." He signaled the bartender. "What are you drinking?" "Water. I want to remember this conversation." He flinched. The bartender brought my water and another whiskey for Max. We sat in silence until he finally spoke. 50 million. Excuse me? $50 million. That's what Harrison has in offshore accounts. Not just from Fundora. From every company he's touched. Max stared at his drink. He showed me the setup 2 years ago. Said it was how real players protected wealth. And you wanted to be a real player. I wanted to matter. His laugh was hollow. You grew up with nothing, so you know what it's like to build something. I grew up with everything, so I knew what it was like to mean nothing. Fundora was supposed to be my proof that I wasn't just another trust fund kid playing startup. So you stole from it. Harrison said it was standard, said everyone did it, said the only difference between founders who made it and founders who didn't was understanding the game. He met my eyes for the first time. I need you to withdraw the complaint. No. I'll give you everything. Your shares back, plus mine. You'll own 60% of Fundora. I'll resign, disappear. You can have the company. What company? I laughed. Max, Fundora is dead. You killed it the moment you made that first transfer. We can rebuild. We. I leaned forward. There is no we. There hasn't been since you decided I was expendable. His hands shook as he pulled out an envelope. 5 million. Cash. Untraceable. Just walk away. Let the lawyers handle the SEC. Say you were mistaken about the documents. You really don't get it. I pushed the envelope back. This isn't about money. It never was. Then what? Revenge? You got it. I'm finished. Criminal charges. Max. Do you understand? I could go to prison. My father won't even take my calls. Harrison threw me under the bus to save himself. Every friend I thought I had is gone. What more do you want? I want you to understand something. My voice was steady, cold. You didn't just steal money. You stole 4 years of my life. You took my work, my trust, my love, and you threw it away for what? To play Harrison Webb's protege? To feel like a real player? I'm sorry. No. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I stood up. You know what the pathetic part is? If you'd come to me, told me you were drowning, that Harrison was pressuring you, I would have helped. We would have figured it out together. That's what partners do. Please. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, just desperate. They're talking about 12 years. 12 years, Elena. I can't. I pulled free. You should have thought about that before you committed wire fraud. This is my life. Yeah? I turned back one last time. Mine too. The difference is, I rebuilt mine. You just burned yours down. I walked out into the Phoenix night, leaving him with his whiskey and his envelope of blood money. Behind me, I heard glass breaking, his drink against the wall. Probably. The bartender would clean it up, add it to his tab. Tomorrow. The FBI would execute search warrants. They'd seize his computers, his records, his beautiful apartment with the view of Camelback Mountain. They'd freeze his accounts, even the ones he thought were hidden. But tonight, he was just another failed founder in an expensive bar, learning that some losses can't be bought back. My phone buzzed. Nina. Second wave tomorrow. 3 more companies in Webb's network. You started an avalanche. I smiled. walking to my car. Max was right about one thing. I had gotten my revenge. But it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every founder who'd been erased, every employee who'd been cheated, every investor who'd been lied to. The girl from Bisbee had learned to code on a broken laptop. The woman from Phoenix had learned to break the men who thought they owned the world. And I was just getting started. 6 months later, I stood in front of 40 women at the Austin Tech Incubator, young founders, mostly, bright eyes full of the same hunger I'd had at their age. They'd come to hear the woman who'd burned down Fundora Technologies. The most important thing I can teach you, I said, clicking to a slide showing legal documents, is to protect yourselves from day one. Equal partnership means nothing without proper contracts. Handshake deals are how they erase you. A hand shot up. Did you ever regret exposing him? I mean, you destroyed something you built. I destroyed something built on lies, I corrected. There's a difference. After the talk, I checked my phone. The news was still coming. Max had pled guilty to avoid trial, wire fraud, tax evasion, securities fraud, 7 years in federal prison, out in 5 with good behavior. His father had hired the best lawyers money could buy, but even they couldn't argue with signed wire transfers to offshore accounts. Harrison Webb was harder to catch. Old money knew how to hide. But the SEC had frozen 12 of his shell companies. The dominoes kept falling. Fundora itself had been acquired for parts. A competitor bought the AI algorithms, my algorithms, for pennies on the dollar. The investors recovered maybe 10 cents per dollar invested. The employees who'd built their lives around stock options got nothing. Patricia Morse called while I was driving back to my new apartment. You see the news? 3 more whistleblowers came forward against Webb's newest fund. Good, I said. Let them all burn. You sound different, she observed. Happier? Was I happy? I thought about it as Austin traffic crawled around me. I'd lost my company, my relationship, 4 years of killing myself for a dream. But I'd gained something harder to define. Freedom. Maybe. Or just the knowledge that I could survive anything. My consulting firm, Riker Advisory, was booked solid. Turns out, female founders desperately wanted someone who understood both code and betrayal. Someone who'd check their contracts, their cap tables, their partners' backgrounds. Someone who'd teach them to protect themselves before they needed to. I specialized in founder disputes now. The ugly divorces of the startup world. Half my clients were women who'd been pushed out of their own companies. The other half were investors who wanted due diligence on founding teams. Can you spot the red flags? They asked. I could. I'd married them. The Austin apartment was smaller than what I'd had in Phoenix, but it was mine. Every stick of furniture, every line of code on my new laptop, every client contract, mine. No one could take it because no one else's name was on it. Sometimes, late at night, I'd check Max's prison blog. Yes, he had a blog. Lessons from the Inside, A Founder's Fall. Ghost-written, probably, but his narcissism shining through every post. He wrote about redemption, about second chances, about the pressure that drove good men to bad decisions. He never mentioned my name. I'd been erased from his story, too. But I didn't need him to remember me. The tech world remembered. Don't pull an Elena Riker meant don't underestimate the co-founder you're trying to screw over. Going full Fundora meant destroying your company through greed. My name had become a warning. The last time I saw anything connected to our old life was at a conference in San Francisco. One of our early investors, someone who'd been kind to me before Max turned the tide, pulled me aside. I'm sorry, he said quietly. We should have asked more questions. Should have noticed when you disappeared from board meetings. Would it have mattered? I asked. He couldn't answer that. We both knew the truth. The money would have won. It always did. Until someone made it too expensive to ignore. That's what I'd really done. Not just exposed Max or Harrison or Fundora. I'd made it costly to erase founders. Every VC now knew that the quiet co-founder might be keeping receipts. Every CEO understood that NDAs couldn't stop federal investigations. Every board had to wonder if their next acquisition might come with a whistleblower attached. I'd weaponized transparency in an industry built on polite secrets. My phone buzzed with a new client inquiry. Another female founder, another suspicious contract, another company where something didn't smell right. Tomorrow, I'd review her documents, check her equity structure, teach her to protect herself. But tonight, I poured a glass of wine and stood on my balcony, watching the Austin skyline glow. Somewhere out there, in gleaming offices and garage startups, people were building dreams and planning betrayals. The cycle would continue. The difference was, now they knew to save the receipts. Max thought I was a piece of software he could reset. Delete the inconvenient code, start fresh. But I wasn't a program. I was a person who'd grown up saving everything because you never knew when you'd need it. And when I'd needed it most, I hadn't just saved myself. I'd send a message to every founder who thought they could erase their partners. We keep backups, and we know how to hit send. Thank you for listening to this story of betrayal and justice in Silicon Valley. Where are you listening from? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced betrayal in business? How did you handle it? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your own stories of standing up against corporate injustice. Your engagement helps these important stories reach more people who might need to hear them.